Good morning, everyone. Boy,
Good morning.
didn't I see a lot of you last week? Yeah, some of you, a lot of you. Okay. All right. Well, welcome to the monthly virtual meetup. Let me close my door because Amy in my office is being very loud and animated. So I want some background noise. I know we keep a professional, professional edge on this. So today we're going to talk. We're going to have Dr. Vincent Nestler talk about the competency event in Colorado and how competency is now part of the designation process and some new things. But to begin, those of you that were unable to come to NCEC, the National Cybersecurity Education Colloquium, and the Executive Leadership Forum last week, also they tacked on an AI meeting and a research symposium. So it was a very long event. The AI meeting established that the NSA and the project team that was working from Towson and a number of faculty from around the country that have contributed to the AI working group, that there will be a new program of study in AI. One is called Secure AI, and one is called AI AI cybersecurity, I believe. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. Dee Dee, you could correct me if I got the name wrong. But basically, one is much more technology driven in the development of AI engines, and the other is more on the applied side of AI. And so there'll be some messages coming out from the PMO. There's been also a lot of talk about redesignation in general, hence why we're going to talk about competency today. Then we proceeded into the general program for NCEC, and there was a program office update with a lot of interesting updates and a reiteration of the strong partnership that's developed between DoD, the Office of the DoD CIO, and the NSA. In the very near term, there's not going to be any significant changes. Those of you that have been writing behind the scenes asking, but I think that was really what the message was. And I would encourage you to read emails that come directly from DoD, CIO, and NSA related to what they had to say at the meeting. I'm not their spokesman, but I'm just kind of relaying in general. That is what was talked about. And then we proceeded into a number of different topics and an executive leadership forum where there was some presidents that put on panels and also government partners, including the NSF, FBI, DoD, CIO, NSA, and I'm missing one, and CISA were up on stage talking about how they support the CAE program and some new initiatives and things that are coming down the pipeline there. And then we went into the CAE-R Research Symposium, which was the best. By the way, ELF was the biggest and best attended we've had, about 260 people. And the Research Symposium had about an audience close to the same size, and where faculty that are interested in publishing research and aspiring faculty also came to present their research. It was very, very well received. But I will say probably the biggest surprise to come out of the conference, especially the CAE-R Symposium, was that Agnes Chan, who is the community of practice lead for the CAE-R program within the CAE community, at 11:39 a.m. announced that she was going to tell a joke. This has never happened in the history of working with Agnes Chan in many of the years that I've worked with her. Is Agnes on the call? Does anybody know? So Agnes Chan told a joke, and so I would be remiss if I did not retell said joke. and give her 100% credit. So this shows the seriousness. Now, she set up the joke by saying that she's a very serious person, but she's been trying to relax. And so here is Agnes's joke. 3 people named Suzanne, Agnes, and Tony went for a job interview. The interviewer asked, "What is 1 + 1?" Suzanne said, 2. Agnes said, "It depends on the mathematical base." And Tony said, "What do you want it to be?" And Tony got the job. There you go. Agnes Chan, comedienne. Fantastic. It's great. Yes. With that, I'm going to go right into the agenda this morning and introduce Dr. Vincent Nestler. Vinny Nestler works with me at Cal State San Bernardino, and let me just give him kind of a warm up here. Is a number of years ago when the CAE program, this is probably around 2013-ish, when the CAE program was finding its footing with the new knowledge units, Vinny raised the issue of competency. How do you know the degree to which people can do a job? And that led to a years-long debate with multiple people on what exactly competency meant, what the flavor of competency is. From my perspective, I always looked at it for that it's really, in this case, where you have a workforce and a job type of framework, and then you have curriculum that we're teaching, and you got to interface it in some way and come to grips with how you categorize whether or not what you're producing can do the jobs that are out there or the future jobs. And coming up with a kind of a lexicon is not really that simple to do as frameworks change, environments change, and so on. So after many years in leadership from Vinny and his team, especially the latest program funded through a grant to Norwich University through the CPNC, the Career Pathways National Center, they have come up with what are now the competency framework and standards that will help define the CAE program. And so, Vinny, I want to thank you for your leadership on this. It's been a long haul, but now I turn it over to you to talk a little bit about competency.
Thank you very much. I'm not used to such kind words coming from your mouth in my direction, but I'll take it. Just kidding, just kidding. So, okay, let's talk competencies. I see that Zoe's in the audience, so I will unabashedly lean on her should the need arise. So I'm basically, this is going to kind of be a shorter retelling of the, what we presented at the NCAC. I'm going to go through it a little bit quicker and not play a video that we have, but I will give you the link so that I can open the floor to questions as it relates to competency and redesignation, because I know some of you are doing that, and so I want to take that opportunity to address that. As Tony mentioned, I lead the competency development effort for the last several years, bolstered by the Herculean efforts of Zoe Fowler to contain, control, and channelize wherever we're going, and doing a spectacular job. And so here we are. So the role of competency and redesignation, and I think this slide really captures it to give perspective on how we look at things. When you get designated, when you're doing your designation, you're focusing on knowledge units and making sure that your curriculum has all the things that the CAE has decided this needs to be taught to your students, right? So basically we're looking at inputs. We're looking at what is it that you're doing with your students. On the redesignation, we're focusing on the outputs. So how you're teaching all the stuff that was listed in the curriculum, if you're, doing a lot of hands-on or you're doing haikus in the mountain or whatever, doesn't matter. We're looking at outputs. And so measuring competency, looking at competency experiences that the students can demonstrate that they're able to actually hit the ground running, doing basic things in various work roles is really what the focus of the redesignation is. So for the redesignation process, year one is you will identify at least 3 work roles relevant to your programs of study. Now, let me just start off by saying some people have been very, have had significant bouts with anxiety on doing competencies. From my perspective, just from the outside looking at other folks, they're like, oh, what am I going to do? An easier lift you'd be hard pressed to do, right? For what the transition and the modification or the adoption of kind of bringing this into the CAE culture, you'd be hard pressed. And so keep that in mind. It's not that big a lift for what we're asking and what you'll be able to do. So year one, 3 relevant work roles to your program of study. What does that mean? That means if, let's say, I'm just saying, for example, let's take Cal State. Cal State, we're a cybersecurity program housed in the College of Business. We base our cybersecurity on information systems and technology, right? So probably our work roles that we're looking at are things like cyber defense analyst, system administrator, vulnerability, and I'm just picking those 3. It might be other work roles, but let's just say those 3, we could just take it. That's it. I'm done. Those are my 3. I did it in the space of 30 seconds just talking to you all, right? So it's not that heavy of a lift. Now, really, you should get together with your faculty and say which ones are the ones that have the most. If you were doing this in what I would say the best way, you look at your curriculum and then you look at the tasks for each of the work roles, probably an operate and maintain in my case, and protect and defend if we're talking about the NICE framework. If we're talking about DCWF, it might be the cybersecurity work roles and cyber, I'm forgetting what their new term is. So you would look at those, look at the tasks and say, oh, you know what? We actually are more like network infrastructure support or something like that, which is fine. Just pick the 3, and it's at 3 at least. If you want to do more than 3, that's fine. But 3 at least, and come to a consensus on what they are. And that's it. That's year one. That's easy peasy. Now, once you identify the 3, that gives you time to start. Now that you've looked at the work roles and you know what the tasks are for the work roles that line up with your program of study, now you're going to pick tasks and start creating competency statements in the next year. Now, the next year, you're completing 10 competency statements. Now, that might sound like a lot. It's 10. I promise you, creating 10 competency statements will require a much lower masochistic threshold than what was required to do your designation with the spreadsheet and all the stuff all the check boxes you had to do, right? And in some respects is a little bit more of a creative endeavor. Okay, so 10 competency statements. A competency statement is not one sentence, right? It's a statement almost like, you have a statement of work, or the office is putting out a statement on whatever took place, right? So it's this kind of a more fleshed out. But what's a statement? A competency statement is basically a description of the educational activity that the students are doing, for which, upon completing, is demonstrating that they are able to complete a task in the context of a work role, right? And those competencies you're already doing, almost all of you, without a doubt, are already doing to some extent, which is why I'm saying this is not a heavy lift. You just have to think, what is a competency statement, and say, oh, we do that. Oh, we do that. And write it up in the format that we have. Now we're going to have training. We have trainings on this, and we have a handbook, and we've got a video, and we've got all the support you need. Again, not a heavy lift. All the support you need so that you could do this appropriately. So 10 competencies, 5 at least should come from the classroom. Whatever you're doing in a classroom type activity, 5 of them should come from there. And as many as 5 can come from other things like competitions, internships, apprenticeship, things of that nature. Okay. So you'll write, 10 competency statements. Much easier than writing a research paper, much easier than doing the original designation, and is a creative endeavor that you can get together with your faculty and say, okay, what are our competency statements? Here's one thing I want to mention to this that I think is, that I would encourage you to do. When you're doing your competency statements, don't look at it as, let me just get my 10 competency statements out, right? Because you're gonna be able to get 10 competency statements out fairly easily. What you should do is think, man, maybe there's 20 or 30 different things that would fit into this that we do in various places and times. Pick the competency statements that capture learning events that most distinguish your institution. So for example, again, I'm just using me because I know what we do at Cal State. I'll probably have a competency statement that relates to our capstone event, right? Because we have our pen test class is pen testing our capstone class, and there's stuff happening there. I want to capture that event because that's one thing I want to make sure that when the office is looking at our 10 statements, even though it's a competency statement as it relates to one event and there's multiple things going on, that kind of captures, oh, they do that. That's great. Maybe at another school, they're like, we do a forensics investigation where we give the students, evidence, and they have to go, write a report that ultimately gets reviewed by the sheriff's department. That's like our annual event or something like that, right? That might be something, and then boom, you capture that in the competency statement. So you want to capture kind of multiple things that kind of triangulate how your school, an institution, is getting the students ready to be able to do to be able to complete tasks in the context of a work. Now, Zoe and I did a video, and the video was about an hour and a half, and people rightfully said it's too long. So Zoe sat down with an artiste of sorts to create a video that's, I think it's great. We're debating on whether or not we're going to submit it to the Con Festival. We think it has potential, but anyway, I'll share the link in the text chat, or if Zoe's there, she'll probably do that. She'll probably recommend it in the text chat so that you can see this video. It walks you through competency, the basic understanding of our approach to competency, what each of the 5 elements mean in competency, to help you start working on your competency statements. November 13th and 14th are 2 half-day training events in Colorado. Let me explain a couple of things about what's going on in Colorado and some of the clear up any, if you've heard about it, clear up any misconceptions about it. All right, so first, it's 2 1/2 day trainings. So it's not a 2-day training. The training's 2 different days, but it's 2 different sets of people. It's a half day. It's taking up the morning. In the afternoon, I'm going to do a little AI piece, how to use AI in the classroom. Here's some cool free tools. Here's how to enhance, your curriculum with AI, all that stuff, and answer any questions. Like if you're thinking about using AI, on the applied side, I can offer some insight and resources. There are underscore, bold, italics, limited funds for travel. And so let me explain how the funds for travel, should you wish to go to this, how it works. Number one, if you're redesignating in the first 3 years, you'll have priority for going. If you're not redesignating next 3 years, you're probably not going to make the cut, but who knows? Number two, if you are over 100 miles, and up to you, if you don't have any other means of funding to come, you may qualify for a travel stipend. Now, the travel stipends are flat $800, and it's first come, first serve. So, for example, let's say let's say we only have 20 stipends. If you're the 21st person, you may not get a stipend, right? So if you come to the event, you might get a stipend, you might not. That's kind of where we're at with that. And that's just due to limited funds, rebudget, and that's kind of where we're at. So yes. I think I explained that well. Questions on that? Or Zoe, did you want to jump in on that?
No, I think you've covered it all.
Okay. All right, and then April 7th and the 10th, we're thinking about doing something at Charleston. We're still trying to figure that out. We got plenty of time, but the next meeting is in Colorado. Okay, so now I'm opening the floors to redesignation questions, training, anything like that. The floor is open.
Just a correction, the April 7th, that date's it's called the CAE Community Symposium.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what the NCAE Spring Symposium is, but it's the CAE Community Symposium that happens to be in the spring.
Stu, go with your question.
Hi, how's everybody? Three questions. How are we going to report our 3 workforce roles on the annual report? Do we know yet, Vinny? Are they going to be check boxes?
Not sure. I haven't seen the actual template for the form for the report. I am going to assume it will be blaringly obvious.
I was going to respond. That's actually going to be in the biannual report. This is Dee Dee at the PMO office, but it will be in the biannual report and not the annual report.
Okay.
Did that answer your
yes,
question?
thank you. No,
Okay.
thank you, Dee Dee. And I assume you're going to pick between NICE and DCWF. Yeah, and then under that, then you're going to pick your at least 3 workforce roles, something along those lines, Dee Dee?
Yeah, so you as an institution can pick which work role you want to use. You can pick which framework, so you can pick from either or. You as an institution get to pick which one you're going to use.
Yeah, and then there was a video at NCEC that I couldn't catch because I was trying to pass a kidney stone, which was a great time, by the way. So is there a link that we can get for that?
I'm sorry, did the video cause you to pass a stone, or you?
Yeah, absolutely. It was Zoe's video that caused me to pass a kidney stone
at
NCEC.
Okay. There's the link right there. If you have a camera, go ahead and take a picture of that. Get a shot of that QR code, and it'll take you right to the video.
Those
Okay,
of you
thank
that
you.
were not at NCEC, Stu did the passing of the kidney stone live for the audience.
Thank you. Thank
Right?
you.
Tin cup. Ting.
Anyway, I'm on my phone, so if somebody can lower my hand for me, I'd really appreciate it.
Oh,
You have Mark Heckman has got a statement in the chat that you might be interested in.
okey-doke. You said who? Mark Hatton. All right. I have a concern about entirely moving away from KUs to tasks. It sounds like a trade school rather than a university program. Outstanding. So I apologize if I led you to believe that the KUs are no longer going to be used at all. It's not that. So that's first. Second, the competency statements, we're just looking at 10, 5 from the classroom, 5 from other things. In no way does this even come close to approximating a trade school, a vocational school, Apex Tech, whatever. It's nothing like that. It's quite the opposite. It's still 100% educational institution with a smattering, a little demonstration here and there of, okay, you learned all the concepts, the theories, and the processes. Now the question is, are you able to bring to bear all of the amazing knowledge and education you got to actually do something in the context of a work role? So, and just to iterate this point, from the beginning of the competency effort, I'd say, without exaggeration, probably every other meeting, in some way, it came up saying, just to allay people's concerns, we're not trying to go vocational tech. We're not trying to turn institutions into, we create system administrators. And to give you an example of how we're not even coming close to that is, system administrator has 20 tasks, I believe. We're not going to do more than 1, 2, or 3 tasks from even just system administrator. That's not even preparing you to be specifically a system administrator. So I can appreciate and totally understand the concern, but Zoe, myself, everybody on the competency committee is steadfast to not move away from education towards vocation. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Does that answer or address your concern? And I'm happy to talk to you more offline if you like.
Okay, this is brand new. Still trying to get my head around what I've been hearing about competencies and tasks. And I have other questions. For example, you said it's 10 tasks per work role that we have to demonstrate our students can.
No. So it's 10 total. So if you chose 3 work roles and you have 10 competencies, it will likely be 3, 3, and 4, or 4, 4, and 2, or whatever.
I can do the arithmetic. That's fine.
Yeah.
But now you said 5 and 5. So can we do all 10 with classroom activities?
Yes. If you don't have, if your students are, if there's not something where you're like, okay, the students are doing competitions or internships, or you're like, you know what, the stuff that we're doing in the classroom, I think captures a better picture of what the student experience is kind of overall, then that's fine too.
So really what we're saying is, if we have in our entire program, whether we have 3 or 4 or whatever work roles, if we can demonstrate they have 10 hands-on skills of some sort, of some activity, that's sufficient?
Yes. Now, yes.
Can
here's
I-
the here's the fleshing that out. Number one, it's not skills, it's tasks, right? With a distinction. Number two, it's I lost the thought. Go ahead, Zoe.
I was going to say it's very important, though, when we're talking about the student demonstrating their knowledge and skills, it is in the context of a work role. And we need to also bring in the fact that the technical in those 10 instances is also wrapped with these aspects of employability, these professional skills. We need our students to be acting not as students within a classroom, but acting as though they are in a simulated workplace. So they are, for example, able to demonstrate kinds of communication skills they might be able to do in a workplace, the kinds of collaboration or teamwork, making those ethical judgments, demonstrating some kind of critical thinking. So we're not talking about a demonstration of technical skills per se. We're talking about how those technical skills might be operationalized within a work role and within a workplace.
Yeah, now I'm lost again. So we'll have to take this offline. I don't want to hold up the meeting anymore.
Sure. We're happy to talk to you anytime. Email Zoe and I, and we can set that up. Other questions, comments? Anybody? So Mark, one of the things I would suggest, watch the video. And I would say take a look at the handbook that we have, which will also kind of explain some of what we're trying to accomplish. Vanessa, I'm sure I'm going overtime at this point, or maybe not. Not too bad. Any other questions or comments? Concerns, moans, groans, aches, pains?
You have 2 or 3 minutes, Vinny.
All right. If you're getting the redesignation in 2025, does this apply to us? If you're getting it in 2025, you should have submitted already, right? Like,
So I think Dee Dee is going to answer that.
yeah, go ahead. Okay.
Not yet. You have 5 more years. So this year you get designated in 2025, you get designated in the tool. And then 5 years from now in 2010, oh, okay, whatever math, I was an English major. Is it 2030 is when you will, is when you're going to follow this process. But actually, if you get designated in 2025, 2027, you'll have a biannual report due. Then 2029, you'll have your second biannual report, and then 2030 is when you get redesignated. Did that answer your question? I don't see any comments. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Some of these are comments, I think, questions. They're again for Dee Dee. Since I only have about a minute left, any other questions that I can answer?
Oh, hello. I just put something in the chat. Our program is new, so we're looking to get it designated starting next year. So it's 3 years old. We have graduated our first set of students. And please, what steps should we take now? It looks like things have changed from when we designed our program.
No, you still follow the old requirements. So you're not following these yet. You're still following the original requirements that you saw. And I can talk to you offline about just making sure you have the requirements. Which
Alright.
school are you with?
Minnesota State University, Moorhead.
Okay, I'll make sure to get you the right information, but you're not following the process that Vinny talked about yet.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Vinny, for coming on here. And for those of you where this is new and you're going, what is this? Do watch the videos, take a look at the handbook. And if you've been doing outcomes assessment, you're going to find that this is not that far away from even what you're doing in your outcomes assessment, your student learning outcomes. And then the tool that they've created with the competency constructor also helps a lot. It really bridges pedagogy and our technical nature of cybersecurity. So great job. Thank you very much. So things that are coming up. We just had our virtual career fair, a few weeks ago. We're going to do an update on that. But things that are coming up are that you need to just make sure is on your calendar is the April CAE Community Symposium that will be in Charleston. And then we're going to work with the program office in the next few weeks just to update the larger calendar that is on the CAE Community website. The CAE Community website will also be undergoing a radical kind of redesign in the next couple of weeks, including the launch of a tool that will enable your students to link their institution to federal jobs in their area. So we're pretty excited about that. That will be in future meetings. So with that, we are done. We'll call this session to a close, and I thank everybody for attending, and we'll see you all November 12th at 9 a.m. Thank you.